so today we're talking about teams, and I've got this rock star panel here. First, we've got Lee Brown. Lee Brown, all right, from Charlotte, North Carolina. And we've got Brian Copeland, Nashville and beyond. Kristan Cole from Wasilla, Alaska, and she runs the Mega Agent Expansion for KWRI. So let's start with Lee. What is your definition of a real estate team?
It's not what we currently see in the industry. A lot of the teams that are out there are just a bunch of agents thrown together who call themselves a team. To me, a team is a group of people that share a culture, they share an identity as far as values, integrity, how they treat their clients. It may be an agent plus vendors, an agent plus a spouse, agent plus admin. It can be any shape or form, but to me it's about their culture and their shared identity.
Okay, and Brian, you used to be Mr. Anti-Team. So how did that change? And what are you doing now?
Yeah, I was a solo agent for years. I had, and we're all thinking in the room, so we'll just put it out there. I had this misconception that all teams were just about being big, being number one, and being a big ego, and that turned me off. I wanted nothing to do with it, and I found out, though, Lee Brown one day pointed her little bony finger in my face and said, "You got to do this." And I learned that a team was more about creating the life balance that you want, to create, to give the good in the community, about what she said about common shared good. For example, I tweeted out before, every time I mentioned best hair in real estate, which we talk Laura Monroe about, if every time I said it, there'd be $20 given to a nonprofit. We run a nonprofit now, and having a team allows me to run a nonprofit that feeds hungry people in Middle Tennessee. And so every time I said, best hair in real estate, there's $20.
Okay, so Kristan, while much of the industry is talking about building real estate teams, you are taking it to a whole different level and teaching the mega agents across the country how to expand their teams into different markets. Right. Tell us about that.
Well, really, simply put, Mega Agent Expansion is a mega agent who takes their administrative systems and team and their lead generation systems and team and really centralizes it in a centralized hub. And it does it at such a high level that then you can expand that into another location. And the key to that, of course, is having a really rock-solid foundation in your centralized hub. And while this may be new to real estate, it's not new to the business industry. Walmart was really successful with this type of strategy, which they coined the inkblot strategy. And that's how they were able to expand across the country in a very succinct, sequential manner that was very profitable for them.
Well, explain what a centralized hub is.
Well, a centralized hub, some folks might think geography. Don't think geography. Think central in terms of you have a central group of folks who work together on a team that provides services for other expansion partners in different locations.
Okay, all right, great. Lee, why would an agent want to join a team instead of doing it on their own?
If you value synergy, if you think you are an expert at some facet of real estate, the team provides an opportunity to get better at what you do. We're not all good with buyers. We're not all good with listings, and it's crap that we act like this in the industry, that we can all hold all the balls in the air all the time. And personally, I wanted my evenings and my nights back, so I recognized my strengths, which are lead generation, conversion, and hiring, and built a team around that so I could get my life back. So an agent who wants their life back, who wants to get really good at honing their skills, you join a team. My best buyer agent is going to make a lot of money this year, and she values the fact that her time is hers, and she is not a slave to every phone call that comes in if it's not something she wants to deal with.
Yep. Okay. So what about when an agent says, well, I can make more money on my own?
Go on. Leave. Shoo, be gone. Everybody doesn't fit the team model.
Yeah.
And I tell people that want to join my team, if you can't leave your ego at the door, roll on. It's not about you.
Okay. So Brian. So Brian, let's talk about the consumer. How do teams benefit the consumer?
Well, ultimately, many of us are agents here today, and it's about what do you put in your tool bag as a dialogue that you can use with your consumer. And for me, I look and say there's a commission earned, whatever that commission is. And in many models, you're only getting one person for that price. When we talk about in our listing appointments, I was on one this past week of an expired, and I said, you're not just getting one person for the price, you're getting an entire team. I have someone whose specialty is staging. I have someone whose specialty is contract to close. All these specialties are there to ultimately optimize your money. So when you can articulate that value proposition to the consumer, they understand that team and find a lot more value in it.
Yeah, so you're specialists instead of generalists.
Absolutely.
So Kristan, Let's talk about with expansion teams. How is that an opportunity for brokers, agents, and the company?
That's a great, great question. And I'll start by saying that expansion really is about building a very big business. And why do I say that? Well, you just heard Lee talk about the fact that, as a single agent, you're doing everything. And so if you think about Kiyosaki's quadrants, he really talked about going from I to we to they to really wake up money, so to speak. And so expansion is very similar in that as a single agent, it's I do it. And then as a self-employed person, we do it together. And then they do it as a team. And agent expansion is really about expanding it into being a very big business. What you want from a very big business is not just to have a big business or big numbers, but you want profits. So expansion done well with a great centralized hub and the right who in the right locations, it is very, very profitable. It allows you to build a big business. And with a bigger business, you attract incredibly great talent, so your bench gets really, really deep, which is I think, one of the best byproducts of expansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the company and for the agents both.
Well, I'm sorry, good point. So for the company, the great thing is that new agents are coming into the office who provide additional profitability for that office. But here's the cool thing. They're not taking resources. So it's very resource limited in terms of what the broker or the office has to provide, because you have to remember that the partner is still being led and held accountable by a rainmaker, so to speak, by the expansion agent. So the brokerage wins because it increases market share and it increases their profitability as well with very limited resources.
Right, and it's usually somebody who's talented so they can do trainings in the office, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the other win-win part of it.
Yeah. Okay. So Lee, let's hear about your team. How did you start with it? And just talk about the structure and your compensation, if you don't mind.
So I started as a buyer agent for my dad, who'd been in the business since 1978, and I spent about 3 years organizing him because he's just a disorganized pile mess, and I love him. He's retired now. And after I got him cleaned up, I needed to move off on my own. I hired an admin, and anybody asks me how you get started in building a team, you hire an admin first to do those non-revenue producing activities. So after that, I hired a buyer agent. I've done everything wrong that can be done wrong in hiring. I've hired from a sense of emotional and knee-jerk reactivity, and it's the worst thing in the world to do because it's very expensive to make people quit. Because I don't like to fire them, I got to make them quit. So I went from admin to buyer agents, and we've moved into the showing agent model as a way to bring green agents into the business and get them properly trained before we cut them loose with actual buyers. And then I added listing specialists last year because I couldn't handle 3-a-day listing appointments anymore. And it's been really amazing, but the turning point in building my team was creating the culture and figuring out who I am and having to dial back my temper and realize that I can't be 100% right all the time. Even though I am, I had to accept the fact that sometimes you can't be. And so in our team, we accepted a culture that says 80% is great, because if we are right 80% of the time, we're better than 99.9% of our competitors, and it leaves us room to grow and room to fix our systems, because when somebody screws up, it's not the person, it's the system that's got a flaw. So we would fix those things.
What is your compensation model?
Our admins are paid on a base salary plus a spiff for the transactions that close. I believe everybody should have skin in the game. Everybody is licensed, by the way. My buyer agents start at 30, go up to 65. The listing agents are at 37.
Okay. What about you, Brian?
Mine are 50-50.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about your team. How did you build it?
Oh, how did I build my team? Oh, I did everything wrong. Everything wrong. I hired people that I loved, that I thought were a lot like me, because that made me warm and gushy. Huge mistake. I've learned that I hire people different from me. I've also found one of the secrets in hiring is to go outside the industry. I think a lot of times we go into an inbreeding idea that we're going to grab inside the companies, and those people want to be entrepreneurs. I found that the best person to hire is the one who wants to sell me. And then they want to serve the customer because of the brand promise that I have. And so I have found people who adore the business that I run. They wanted to work with me, and I brought them most from the outside.
Actually, Kristan used to recruit for talent, for KW before you were doing this. How do you find talent for your team?
Well, in my particular case, I started much like Lee. I hired 3 admin people before I ever hired any commission folks or any buyer specialists. But what I would say in terms of hiring talent, I made a lot of mistakes as well. And what I found is that there are systems out there to follow. You can use behavioral assessments and things like that that will help you put the right person in the right seat on the bus. And that makes a world of difference, because obviously people who have a sales background tend to have a different behavioral style than folks who want to be on the administrative side of the team. So understanding natural behaviors of folks and how they show up at work and how we can help them really succeed at a high level by putting them in the right seat with their natural behavior was key for me.
Yeah.
And so, and building with expansion is exactly the same way. You know, you've got to have the right who. You can have the best hub in the whole wide world that's centralized and is absolutely rock solid. If you've got the wrong who, it's not going to work. Now, what I can tell you is you can have the right who in another location, and even if your hub isn't perfect yet, it will work.
And how do you know you have the wrong who?
Well, when you start getting pieces of the job back is a key sign that you've got the wrong who.
Exactly. Right. Okay. And what courses or books do you recommend for people who want to build their teams?
I'm real big on team rhythms, mastering the Rockefeller habits. We do a big strategic plan every single year where we monitor that every year. We go on a retreat every October, and then we go into company rhythms every single Tuesday. We have a team meeting. We have a dashboard we go through. We have our KPIs and everything we're monitoring. So mastering the Rockefeller habits is essential for me.
Okay, awesome.
Network with other team leaders, because you'll find as many models as there are teams, and pick and choose what works for you. I don't think there's a great system other than digging into networking.
Okay, and Kristan?
Well, I follow it's called the Recruit Select model. It's a system that I've learned that really teaches you how to find great talent and help them achieve success at a mastery level within the first 100 days, which is kind of what we all want, right? We want people to be to be at the self-mastery level quickly. And so really getting them to that point and then leading and motivating them beyond that is really key.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Enjoyed it. You guys are awesome. Okay.